Welcome to the Zono Sports Show, where you know Zo knows. Today we'll be discussing the professionals, the individuals who get up and go to work every morning to ruin another grown man's night. The NFL's what's hot on our menu and ready on our laptop bookmarks. Today, let's discuss first some big stories that's going on in the league, okay? Now, we do know the overwhelming concern in Minnesota that Teddy Bridgewater will not be competing in this year's 2016 NFL season. Mr. Bridgewater will be out at least a year with a torn ACL with structural damage. We do know that it was a very gruesome injury, nastier than a 7-Eleven downtown bathroom. I do hear that a lot of his teammates did not watch the injury, had to be taken in the locker room because many of them did get sick. I want to say about 5 or 6 players they did mention on the news. And also, let's add to the fact that he is a quarterback that won Rookie of the Year, who is entering his third season, I should say. And that is a big story in Minnesota. I feel very devastated for that franchise because, of course, we do know the NFC North is very competitive with teams like Green Bay as well as the Detroit Lions. More so not the Lions. It was mainly between the Packers and the Vikings, but that is a very tough division. So do wish the Minnesota Vikings the best. Sam Bradford, they signed him from the Eagles. He'll be coming in to fill that void. He did win the Heisman Trophy a few years ago, but as many of you do know that he has had an up and down carousel NFL type career. So that is something I'm looking forward to seeing what the Minnesota Vikings do this year with that quarterback leadership lacking at the moment, with their leader currently experiencing difficulties with his injury and health. So I do wish Teddy Bridgewater the best. That is a big story in the NFL. Also, we want to know, can the Denver Broncos repeat? They're replacing Peyton Manning, the old sheriff, the guy with the guns who can shoot up the entire AFC West. Now, Mr. Manning, he was a great quarterback for them. However, they got a lot of pieces coming back. They've got Von Miller on a lot of EA Sports commercials, doing the dab and the nay-nay, whatever you want to call it, whatever dances out, he can do it. He also did sign a $70 million deal this offseason, which most people would say is a lot for a defensive player because they can get hurt on any snap. However, in the sport of football, many people know that you can get hurt at any position on any play, just as Tony Romo. But hey, I will say they've got a quarterback situation they've got to figure out between Paxton Lynch, quarterback from Memphis, who will be a rookie this year. Also, Trevor Siemian, who came from Northwestern. I want to say he's in his second year in the NFL. I wouldn't say third. I want to say he's in the second year of the NFL. Now, he is someone who's going to have to show that he can play the position, be smart about what he's doing, because let's face it, he's better than Mark Butt Fumble Sanchez. That guy is an accident waiting to happen. And I don't think even a defense as good as Denver could back up someone who makes as many mistakes as Mr. Sanchez does. He was great at his time at SC, had a few good years with the Jets, but let's face it, since the butt fumble, it's been downhill. Don't mark that as a play on words. It's just simple, plain, and to the point. Mark Sanchez, not the best option for the Denver Broncos, but we'll just have to see. They do have that elite defense with Aqib Talib, TJ Ward, and also DeMarcus Ware on the edge. Garrett Wolf's out there. They've got a lot of different pieces. Chris Harris, they've got a lot of pieces in the secondary to shut down opposing quarterbacks and keep the score close, no matter whether Mark Sanchez is in at quarterback or a young Paxton Lynch or Trevor Siemian. So I am looking to find out about that. Also, can the stars realign? Last year in 2015, there were various injuries all across the NFL. You had many people hurt all the way from Dez Bryant, Le'Veon Bell, Andrew Luck, Jimmy Graham, you name it. However, my specialty, the guy that I do want to see come back, the Honey Badger. Don't care. Tyrann Mathieu. Now, I do want to see Tyrann Mathieu come back because he is a phenomenal player who finds a way to get his hands on the football in the defensive end. He makes plays in the secondary. He also has a knack for smelling out running backs and will deliver a boom. So that is someone who I'm looking forward to see come back and play an integral role in that Arizona defense. So I do wish the Honey Badger luck as he tries to come back from those injuries. But I do think we'll see a significant decrease in a lot of injuries simply because of the rule changes that have gone on the offensive and the defensive end, as far as the running backs, how they are allowed to run with their helmet, as well as the targeting calls that are being implemented to decrease the amount of concussions in the NFL. So I am anxious to see about how they adjust to that. So those are three things that I think are the biggest stories coming into the NFL season. Now we get to the fun parts. Now bear with me. Let me get our notes situated, okay? Now, from what I do see, we've got a few different things here in the NFC and the AFC. Now, I'll go through and just give you a different perspective on each different division as to what I think could possibly happen, as well as projected stats for what will happen this year and last year, those results. Okay, so in the NFC East, we've got the Washington Redskins, Philadelphia Eagles, New York Giants, Dallas Cowboys. I really like the Philadelphia Eagles picking up Carson Wentz. Won 5 straight titles of course not 5. He was only there 4 years, but won 4 national championships at North Dakota State. Beat a lot of FBS opponents, so obviously he's got a knack for winning. Great at what he does. Dak Prescott at Dallas Cowboys had a great career at Mississippi State. I do think he is someone who could come in and replace a Tony Romo, who is currently injured as we speak. He did break his back again a few weeks ago. I mean, he might as well be an extra in that one movie about the Cowboys on the mountain. You know the title. I won't go there. But Dak Prescott will be a great addition for them. The New York Giants, they've got Odell Beckham Jr. Will they get Victor Cruz back at 100%? We'll have to see. Eli Manning, proving quarterback, Super Bowl champion. The Redskins, Kirk Cousins, they added Josh Norman. I do think that division will most likely be won potentially by, I'd say, the Philadelphia Eagles, simply because I really like Carson Wentz as a rookie quarterback. I know it may seem like a bit of a stretch, but I really like him and what he has to offer with him being a proven champion. On any level, you win 4 straight titles, you've got to be a winner. Also, we move down to the NFC North. We've got the Vikings, the Packers, Detroit Lions, and the Chicago Bears. Jay Cutler still dragging the Bears down. Detroit Lions, Matt Stafford, when are you going to win some more games? Green Bay, I'm never worried about them because they've got Mr. Aaron Rodgers as well as Clay Matthews on the back end and a speedy Sam Shields. Really like Sam. Also, James Starks and Eddie Lacy. Eddie Lacy, if you got your weight down, they could really use you this year, okay? Because as we do know, Eddie Lacy did get a little chunky last year. However, he was able to get a lot of that weight off in the offseason. He looks great. I've seen him in a few commercials. Looks okay. Also, the Minnesota Vikings picked up Laquan Treadwell in the draft. He's going to be a great young receiver for them. He's strong. He can high point the football, get his hands in a position to box out the cornerback and make a play in the corner of the end zone. I do think it will help them out with their loss of Teddy Bridgewater to have someone who can make plays on the edge, such as him and as well as Cordero Patterson. In the NFC South, the Carolina Panthers, Atlanta Falcons, New Orleans Saints, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I do see Carolina Panthers coming out of this division once again, back-to-back years. They've got Kelvin Benjamin back, Cam Newton. He won MVP last year, went to the Super Bowl. He's somebody that I think will not experience a drop-off. He's actually gone through those growing pains, learned the position, done a great job at that. I'm anxious to see how Jameis Winston does for the Buccaneers. He's somebody who got in a lot of trouble in college, but he stayed out of trouble in the NFL. I look forward to him being able to bring that team to another level. They've got a defense with a lot of young players, but they're very fast. They're very fast. Also, Doug Martin at running back. I really like the muscle hamster. He's somebody that can bring the pop, keep the offense balanced for Mr. Winston. Matt Ryan, I'm not sure what Atlanta's going to move on from that saga of their life, but we'll just have to see. New Orleans Saints, Drew Brees, great quarterback. I don't see them doing too much in that division this year. They'll win some games. I'd say maybe a 9-7 season possibly, just because they don't play too much defense. We'll have to see if they're any better. But we'll definitely look forward to seeing what ends up happening in the NFC South. But I do think the Panthers will win that. Now, the NFC West, the Arizona Cardinals, Seattle Seahawks, St. Louis Rams, San Francisco 49ers. The Rams went out and picked up Jared Goff. You add him to the mix with Todd Gurley. You add a new city like LA, the bright lights and the Hollywood sign to your environment. You're going to get a better outcome as far as fan participation. you're in a larger market opposed to St. Louis, where you don't have as much financially, and your demographic there is not quite what it would be in LA. But I do think the Rams will prosper just being out in California in that market. I also like them as a football team. Very tough young team. Jeff Fisher's got those guys playing. The Seahawks, of course, Russ Wilson, their defense, the Legion of Boom, they'll definitely be something to deal with in that division. Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals, I do like the fact they went out and picked up Robert Nkemdiche to replace Darnell Dockett, who was a long-time mainstay there for that front line for the Arizona Cardinals. And San Francisco 49ers, I do see them at the bottom of the division again, simply because you got one guy that's not very good and another guy that wants to sit on his knee during the national anthem. So you got two guys who, one has been and then one guy who never will be, which in Blaine Gabbert, because I just don't think he's a great quarterback, and I can honestly say that I'm not sure why they drafted him out of Missouri. I think Chase Daniels is probably the best quarterback to come out of Missouri in the last 10 years, but hey, that's just me. But we do know Zoe knows if you did watch a couple sports this weekend. Now, we move over to the AFC. The AFC East, New England Patriots, New York Jets, Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins. The New England Patriots, if they can come out of that first couple games 3-1, Tom Brady, of course, has his 4-game suspension. Jimmy Garoppolo will be the starting quarterback for the duration of that time while he's out. So if Mr. Garoppolo, an OVC boy, Murray State, that's where I went, but he went to Eastern Illinois, if he can step in and just manage the game, win those games that they're supposed to win early on, and get back to a 3-1 record for Mr. Brady when he pulls back into town, I do think they'll be quite okay. The New York Jets, I do see them being a contender in that division. Ryan Fitzpatrick, a good quarterback. Can he take his career to the next level with him being a much older veteran in the NFL? And I do like Brandon Marshall in the receiving core as well. Buffalo Bills, Rex Ryan, your defense. We'll have to see what happens. Tyrod Taylor, you got to perform. Now, the Miami Dolphins, I'd never have liked Ryan Tannehill. Maybe having Laramie Tunsil as an offensive tackle will help that team out. We'll just have to see. In the AFC North, they've got the Cincinnati Bengals, Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens, Cleveland Browns. Let's start with the Browns. You know, they're notorious for being at the bottom of that division. However, they went out and got Robert Griffin III, RG3. That's right. He is back, and I do like him with Hugh Jackson. That's a matchmate waiting to happen, okay? If they were on Tinder, they both swipe right. He's somebody that can fit right into the offense. He's someone who they will tailor the system around him. Hugh Jackson will allow him to play and be RG3, which I think will make it the most prosperous situation for RG3. Also, they lost Barkevious Mingo, who's now with the New England Patriots. He was somebody who I think they maybe could have held on to just to keep that defense pretty solid, but we'll have to see how they are. Baltimore Ravens, Joe Flacco coming back, Steve Smith on the edge, Justin Forsett. He's an older running back. I do like him. Rashad Perryman, what are you going to do this year, sir? Can you be healthy? Can you take your team to another level? They have your speed pretty high on Madden still. We'll have to see. Pittsburgh Steelers, they've got Antonio Brown. We know about him being the best ever, is what I was told today by someone here in the city. Antonio Brown, great receiver to back up Big Ben. They've got that young defense with Cameron Hayward as well as Ryan Shazier. Really like the Steelers on defense. Think they'll be competitive in that division. Cincinnati Bengals, AJ Green, can he stay healthy? Andy Dalton, can he stay healthy? And can the Bengals finish? Just finish, Cincinnati. Finish, please, for once. I do think the Steelers will win that division. AFC South, you got the Texans, the Colts, the Jaguars, and the Titans. Okay, now the city of Houston, you got two good young receivers, in my opinion, in Will Fuller and Braxton Miller. Also, you picked up a quarterback, Brock Osweiler. Osweiler's okay. They may have overpaid him a little bit, but we'll have to see what he does there in Houston. The Colts get Andrew Luck back. He was hurt for the duration of the season last year on the latter half of that. We'll have to see if he comes back and can be the Andrew Luck of his rookie season. I do look forward to seeing what he can do. T.Y. Hilton's still there, still a great wide receiver for that receiving core. Jacksonville Jaguars, you've got Blake Bortles and T.J. Yeldon, a nice young core there. We'll have to see what they do on defense. They picked up their DB Jalen Ramsey. That will keep them tight in the secondary. They'll be able to run a lot more different coverages. Having someone who's athletic like that, who can break on the ball, make plays in the secondary. And the Tennessee Titans, Derrick Henry, Heisman winner, who I think reminds me a lot of Eddie George there in that Tennessee uniform. He's a big guy. He'll run you over, and he's got the speed as well. So rare combination. We'll have to see how he does with Mr. Marcus Mariota. And we move to the AFC West. Now, we've got our Denver Broncos, our Kansas City Chiefs, our Oakland Raiders, San Diego Chargers. Now, I do want to start with the Oakland Raiders. They've got Mr. Derek Carr and Amari Cooper. I love Amari Cooper. He runs his routes smooth. It reminds me a little bit of Jerry Rice, maybe a little bit bigger, a little bit quicker, faster. And now everybody knows that Jerry Rice had better hands. He had probably the best hands in the game. However, I do think Cooper has that potential, and we'll have to see what his ceiling is the further he gets into his career. I like Derek Carr at quarterback. I love their defense. I like David Emerson at safety. At DB. I love Sean Smith. He came over from the Chiefs, as well as the rookie they drafted, Carl Joseph. Now, also, the Denver Broncos, we've already talked about them. The Kansas City Chiefs. I like Alex Smith. I like Eric Berry in the secondary. I do like Derek Johnson on defense. Tamba Hali. They've got a great team. Andy Reid. Can you keep these guys focused, keep them level-headed so they can actually compete in that division and not succumb to people like the Raiders and the Broncos? Because I do think they're a team that can actually win this division. Because you'll have Jamal Charles coming back. Hopefully he'll be healthy for this year and remain healthy. So I do think they can compete. And the San Diego Chargers, Phillip Rivers, he's a great quarterback. Never won a Super Bowl, but he's the one guy that I could say I consider a champion just because he's always been a great teammate. You don't hear bad things about him. He spreads the ball around. Mike McCarthy, I want to say, is still the head coach. Not Mike McCarthy. That is Mike... I can't remember. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but he is a Mike. We got a lot of Mikes in the NFL. Now, the Chargers at wide receiver, they still got Eddie Royal. I want to say he's still there with the Chargers. So we'll have to see what they do. Now, can Melvin Ingram, can you be a force on the defensive line? Because he got hurt early in his career, but Melvin Ingram, you were a big-time deal at South Carolina. I really want to see what you've got to do there on the defense for the Chargers this year, okay? Mike McCoy is the name. There we go. Mike McCoy, the head coach, came to me. I'm so sorry, guys. Now, I've been having a lot of people ask about fantasy. Now, from what I see here, you got to excuse me. From what I see here, our fantasy fruit juice for fantasy football, our sleepers that you got to cuff. Robert Griffin III, QB for the Cleveland Browns. I really like him being somebody who's been out of the league, not out of the league, but been off the field for a minute, having to watch. He's probably got a whole different perspective about the game. He had that long touchdown down the sideline a few years ago, but we come to now, he's somebody that's kind of been forgotten. Let's not forget, he's won a Heisman Trophy. I do think he can succeed there in Cleveland because they will tailor the offense around him and make it based on his skill set and not try to fit him into something that is not really for his playing style, which is kind of what they try to do in Washington, in my opinion. Now, also, Jordy Nelson at wide receiver, coming back from an ACL tear. That was in the preseason of last year. He's had well over a year to come back and be healthy. So I do think he's somebody that will rack up many points in fantasy and somebody that will go undrafted early. Don't waste a high pick on him. You can if you want to, but he's somebody to look out for. Also, the Raiders defense. I've been talking about the Raiders. They've got Khalil Mack, Bruce Irvin, Reggie Nelson, Sean Smith. They've got a lot of guys that can run. And when they get there, they bring the boom, okay? So I really like the Raiders defense to get a lot of turnovers, get you a lot of points in fantasy. They're someone to definitely pick up early on if you want, but you can wait and pick them second or third pick if you can. It's totally up to you. Also, our bust, our no-goes, Adrian Peterson. I don't like him as a fantasy pick this year because they will stack the box against Adrian Peterson. Everybody's aware that Teddy Bridgewater is hurt. They know that the Vikings have an all-pro running back in Adrian Peterson. He's in his 30s this year. He is someone that will take more hits this year simply because he'll get more carries because they have to lean on Adrian Peterson with no Teddy Bridgewater to back him up. So he's somebody that I think will have a heavier workload and is susceptible to injury. He's already had the ACL. He came back, has played phenomenal after that, but just for someone at his age to kind of have that target on his back, I do think that can be detrimental to their success there in Minnesota. Now, Demaryius Thomas, not the premier receiver. He's got new QBs. They've got Emmanuel Sanders they're going to focus in on. You don't have Peyton Manning, so I don't think they'll spread the ball around that. These other quarterbacks, I'm not sure that they'll know how to spread that around like the Sheriff was good at doing. So Demaryius Thomas, he's somebody that he will have a good season, but not the season that we're used to seeing when he was playing with someone like Peyton Manning, okay? Also, Brock Osweiler is my last bust no-go. He looks the part. He's tall. He's got the nice hair. He's got the edges, the baby, the genuine. But I don't think he's someone who will really win you a championship. I think he's someone who will manage a game, make a couple great throws, but when it's time to get it done, I honestly don't think he'll be the guy that can get it done. Now, Houston, you paid for him. You gave him all that money. Correct me if I'm wrong. So that's what we'll wait and see. Now, next show we'll talk about college football, Labor Day action, and also opening weekend surprises. And to compound that with who's a pretender and who's a contender. So please tune in to the Zono Sports Show on the next episode this Wednesday. Thank you so much for watching, where you know Zo knows.